Are you gonna go live? What are you going live? Who's doing it?
It's your professionalism that I respect.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Oh, both
Steph,
Stephanie
how
and
are
I
you?
we were a little under the weather.
We
It's
both
fine.
have
It's fine,
one cold.
Anthony. Yeah. Which everybody knows is way worse than the regular cold. But
Yeah.
you just look spry and happy and just
Yeah,
happy
I'm
to
over
be
the
here,
weather.
Anthony.
Not
I don't
under
know-
the weather.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either, and I don't even know why.
Do you
I
guys
laughed at
know? Do you guys know why dinosaurs can't clap their hands?
that. Why can dinosaurs not clap their hands?
Because they're extinct.
Well, I'm actually going to be doing something fun. I'm organizing out here in Denver, Chris. I'm organizing a hide and seek tournament. I'm really looking forward to it, but good players are hard to find.
I hate myself for laughing at your joke.
Those are objectively two very good dad jokes, and mine is so bad that I kind of just don't even want to tell it because it would bring. I mean, the dinosaur extinct thing is pretty funny. Good players hard to find. That's pretty good. Mine is two guys walked into a bar. The third one ducked.
Curious, Chris, what are
Sorry.
your views on intelligence?
Oh man, this is going great. This is already going so great. this
Okay,
morning. What a
well, I'm
terrific
gonna go take
episode.
some Advil, cold and flu, and I'll see
Yeah,
you guys
all
later.
right. That'll do it. Why don't you get us out of here, Anthony?
Thank you, everybody,
Thanks, guys, for listening. What a great episode.
You guys are trying to avoid the topic, which is something that I will admit I picked because I think it's a fascinating set of principles for founders, and it coming from a controversial figure. Now, I will say I'm a fan, but I think I am alone on this podcast with that statement. I'm fine with that. We can talk about why I'm a fan, or we can just talk about the principles and discuss whether or not they're valuable independently of the human being that it came from. We are talking about the Elon Musk algorithm, Chris.
Are you going to start drooling? Because then I don't want to talk about it.
Right. It's got a little bit of a man crush there going. I feel like
I'm
Anthony.
not going to say one way or the other.
So here's my from a values perspective, full misalignment from here, but I think it's valuable for us to always assess frameworks, models that are out there in the world that might be helpful to somebody, and let's pick it apart. Let's see what he's got that's better than, if you can separate the person from the work, I have no problem with that.
That's what I've been doing with Anthony since I met him. So it's fun.
That's a different
separating the person from the work.
With Chris, I separate the person from the smell, but we'll talk about that in another episode.
Coming in hot.
I am so lucky that neither of you has met me in person because
bringing the A game this morning, Anthony. All right, Elon Musk runs every decision, rockets, cars, factories, tunnels, through the same 5 steps. He calls it the algorithm. Here it is. Step 1, make the requirements less dumb. Every requirement must come from a named person, not a department. If you can't name who required it, delete it. Number 2, delete any part of the process you can. If you're not occasionally adding things back in, you're not deleting enough. Step 3, simplify or optimize, but only after you've deleted. The most common mistake smart engineers make is optimizing a thing that should not exist. Step 4, accelerate cycle time, but only after you simplified. Speed up with survive, deletion, and simplification. And step 5, automate. And this is last, not first. Most founders start here and work backwards. Today, Anthony, Stephanie, we are going to be talking about the Musk algorithm, a step-by-step, where it works, where it breaks down, why almost every team on Earth runs it in reverse. I am your host, Chris Franks. With me, again, Stephanie and Anthony. We are 2 weeks into our new format, just us talking about it, because Anthony has made every guest that we've ever had angry. And we have a -4 stars on Podmatch. So,
and now I'm making you guys angry. So I'm expanding my reach.
I honestly think that what's brought us down has been the dad jokes.
I'm switching to insults. So
I know it's
trying to get our ratings.
Okay, listen.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, how do we want to break this down? Because
I think
let
good.
me start. Yeah. Cool.
So let's just go through this quickly and say, so I'm just going to say each step I just explained to each one, but I'm going to go through them again very quickly. And I want to get your reaction about which one of these makes the most sense and which one of we get wrong. And I think, Anthony, when you wrote this or your AI wrote it, you did get this, like, I think it was very insightful. You said, we run this in reverse. Most founders start by trying to automate stuff without actually understanding the system. And we add complexity as opposed to delete it. So just very simply, make the requirements more simple, delete parts of the process, simplify, then accelerate your cycle time, and then automate. So that's a pretty easy way to just kind of standardize this 5-step process. Anthony, you've had a lot of time with this and you've thought through this. What part of this is the hardest? What makes the most sense? What is it that is the most important part of this process for founders to internalize?
Well, I think the most important note on this is Elon himself said that he ran this in reverse. Like, he started SpaceX, or was it Tesla? I don't remember which company he was talking about, but he started by trying to automate the factory. And it was absolutely the wrong way to do it. So he was the one, through pain, that flipped this algorithm on its head. Instead of automating, we need to figure out what doesn't belong first. So I think the make the requirements less dumb is basically saying, question everything that's in a requirement. Why does it exist? Why is it there? And then also, who insisted on where it lands. I've got a story from the book on Elon Musk about that specifically, but we can get into that later.
Well, so let's go into that first step, Stephanie. Make requirements less dumb. In the world that you and I came up with, which is the software world, requirements documents became this monster thing that did become overwhelming and somewhat stupid. Because as more people came in and added requirements, you started to lose the vision of what this software was. Classically, Steve Jobs was all about the simplification of software, not adding complexity into software. And so what's your take on this idea of make requirements less dumb? I think it's kind of funny because we all agree that sometimes requirements are a little bit dumb. But how do we make sure that we're staying very simple and true to what it is that we want to build?
So I come from a bit of a different perspective because, in the software world, like, I am a certified, like, SAFe certified agile product manager and, a agile specialist. Like, so in the software world, we started with agile, and agile became like an anchor around, like, it was meant to be velocity, but it became, people would implement agile and they would, like, slow their whole business down. And then SAFe is the kind of new version of agile. I look at these things here in the algorithm and I don't see anything particularly insightful or interesting about them because, in theory, this is what SAFe is been about all along, right? And so what we used to do was waterfall, where we would have to get every single requirement in the world documented before you start doing any sort of development. And the agile version of software development and product development is about iterations and not getting stuck in that big, and you ruthlessly cut. So the constraints and the container that Safe puts in place is meant to do all these things. So the only piece that I sort of took out of this that was valuable, I think, was that the concept of people trying to over automate in the beginning and automate things that they don't need. So the sooner you can get to working with customers, the sooner you can understand what matters and what doesn't.
Anthony, the piece that I'm taking away from step one is I've seen so many really smart, good founders fail because they try to build something. They have a great idea and they start it and they can do an MVP and something lean. And then when they actually start trying to build the thing that they're going to take to market, they way overbuild it. And classically, there's all kinds of famous sayings in here, including, if you're not a little bit embarrassed when you launch, you've launched too late, things like that. I think that the question I wanted to ask here, particularly in step one, when we're talking about requirements, is internalizing that for a founder. How do we not add features onto the product? How do we make sure that we keep this thing as lean as it possibly can be? And this can be a product and or service. As a matter of fact, it's way more dangerous in the service world because it's way easier just to add stuff to your offering.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep this in Musk land just to annoy you both. You can't say that a Tesla car, he couldn't launch a car and make it an MVP.
No.
Right? And so really, when you dig into this step one, make requirements less dumb, it's not about simplifying the product. It's about pulling the requirements that are put in there that just simply don't belong, that have no reason for. I'll give you a very relevant example. So on the factory, in one of the Tesla models, I think it was one of the first one, they had this pad between the battery pack and the passenger compartment. It was really expensive and added a lot of time to the development process or to the manufacturing process of the car. And so Elon was like, okay, so he went in and asked somebody like, why is this there? And they said, well, it was put in there by the safety team because it prevents fires from getting into the cabin. So he went to the safety team and he said, why is this pad there? And they're like, well, it's not because of that. It's because of noise. And the noise team said it needed to be in there. And he went over to the noise team and they're like, no, the safety team said it needed to be in there. And it was so they removed the pad. The noise didn't increase at all in the car, and the fire safety didn't improve at all. So he literally just looked at a requirement that nobody knew why it was dropped into the car. And both departments thought it was the other person. So one, they didn't name who added the requirement, so you couldn't figure out why it was there. And two, the part didn't need to be there at all in the first place. So it had nothing to do with features. It had to do with the wrong requirement. So when I look at this, make requirements less dumb, it's not about features. It's not about serving customers. It's about, does this thing even need to exist in the first place? I think it's a really smart way of looking at it.
Requirements come from what you understand about what you're trying to achieve, right? So the lesson here for me is to ensure that you have almost like a mini company, like a set of values or a set of objectives that everyone's aligned around when you're building requirements and that they can test against, right? Like I just stated that there's a requirement. Does it like meet all of these? Can I answer all these questions and still say yes, right? And that has to come back to, what are we actually trying to build? The example of what you just mentioned about the little pad behind the seat. I mean, that happens all the time, right? Like it came out of some conversation at some point in time, and so being able to track where all of those requirements come from, what you're missing is the process with which to continually question them. Like, at what point in time does that hold your production back?
There's two parts of this that strike me, and the first one is this idea of dogma, which is this is something that is true in every size of a company. It can be true for a one-person company. Is you start by going, oh well, customers definitely need this, and then suddenly 3 or 4 iterations down, you haven't gone back and asked that question about like, wait, why? And so classically, we talk about this as thinking from first principles, which is there is no such thing as dogma. There's none of this thing of like this sunk cost, like, oh, we just have to do this. We have to have this pad that's there. And then secondarily is having an organization and having enough power or say within the organization for other people to ask those hard questions, not just a single person. And I think both of those can be difficult. Okay, let's move on to the second step, which is delete the part of the process. This to me is the thing that I actually like the most, because we as humans, and particularly founders, we have something called the planning fallacy. The planning fallacy is we believe we have more time and attention and ability. And so we add complexity into process. You know, it's not intentional. We just start to add complexity into places where it shouldn't have. And simplification is such a powerful thing. Talk to me about how you think about this, Anthony. How do you start to delete? How do you start to simplify process?
I think it's always iterative. So I go in this in cycles where I overcomplicate something and then simplify, and then overcomplicate it and simplify. And that process of overbuilding and then pulling out actually, I think is hardens the product or the service that you're offering. So I think for me, it's just a natural progression. I overbuild, then delete, overbuild, then delete. I don't know if that's what he's suggesting here, though, right? So one of the problems with the Musk algorithm is it works if there's already a system in place, right? If you're walking into Twitter with a sink in your hands, and you're coming into, and you're going to delete 80% of the staff. When you're a founder, there's nothing to delete yet, outside of maybe your plan, or maybe the other way to think about this also, again, pulling from trying to keep in the notion of Musk. He talked about the first Raptor engine and about how it was built because it was the people, the engineers that he brought in did it that way because their predecessors did it that way. And so what he did is he was like, he questioned everything that was in the engine. And then 2 said, well, let's just delete that and see what happens. Let's just delete that and see what happens. And I think a lot of people, made fun of him because he had a lot of rockets crash, but it was because he followed this process.
Well, it's great when you have enough money to spend on your rockets crashing.
Oh, now we're going to get into the billionaire.
So if I can reiterate what I heard you say, what I heard you say was that you have to harden the process and then pull out.
That is way worse than my joke earlier this morning, by the way.
Well, he said both those things. Okay. So
hold on. Here's my question, Stephanie, is that here's the problem with this assumption. And Anthony, you touched on it, but let's just get into it. We, the 3 of us, and most founders I know, are founders because we like to build stuff. We like to create stuff. We don't like process. We like to break process and then build new processes. Famously, all 3 of us love to build processes and then not follow those processes that we've built. This is really, really hard for founders. So it's easy to say, hey, you take this process that's, an engineering process of building a rocket, and then you strip things away. For most founders, it's the opposite. We build and iterate and build and iterate, but have a hard time actually establishing the process. Has that been your experience, Stephanie?
Oh, so one of the muscles that you need to develop as a founder, especially if you're building products, is knowing how to very quickly get something in front of the people who know what it needs to be there, right? And they don't even need to know how to give you feedback. They just need to know what they need. And launching something or putting something into the market that is less than perfect or doesn't have all the requirements, it's like kryptonite for a founder who wants to build and build and build and build. I would argue that this whole like delete everything, part of the problem with that is that you're actually delaying getting to market, right? So how are you, like, what does that actually look like in practice? Do you have, periodic reviews where you look over everything that's in your current build and like run it all against a test? Like,
Do we need a process to delete process?
that's right. So realistically, think about it. Either that happens when like every time a requirement is put on the table, or it happens at periodic points in the build phase. But you're actually like spending more time reviewing and questioning every one of your requirements than just getting the fucking thing out there and figuring out what sticks and what doesn't. So I'm not arguing that you should pack full a bunch of requirements, but that's what Agile is all about, right? Like, not that I'm an Agile fan or anything like that, but the concept of DevOps and Agile is all to get you shipping a small piece to get feedback on it, to know what you should be investing more time in. So you're not putting a bunch of time into any one thing, right? So to me, this is just kind of like, it sounds great and it sounds all like, yeah, delete everything and don't be dumb. But I'm like, yeah, this is just the same old shit, right? And then when you think about it practically, how are you? At some point in time, you have to do a review. You have to find the things that you want to. You're not going to just like ditch a requirement willy-nilly just because you want to. You do have to review all these things. So when is that happening, right?
I think that's the piece that is most important from this part of the conversation for the average founder that's very early in their career. It's like early in their company, is that you're going to start to create these cycles. And these cycles are, well, not necessarily even process, but they're cycles. And you're so busy doing the stuff and you're in the weeds. How can you put in some sort of a cadence, whether it be monthly or quarterly or sprint by sprint, and saying, hold on, time out. What am I actually doing here? And is this part of my work? Is it actually creating value for the customers? Because that's all that really matters. And, famously, Anthony, you and I always talk about it, which is I build spreadsheets when I'm super stressed and, want to feel like I'm providing value. And, so I go down and do financial modeling. You build, you crack open and do a logo, right? Like we do things that are not necessarily the most important things to create value. And if you let those things continue, that becomes wasted time and energy on things that you're not going to do. All right. I want to move on to step 3, which is, I think this is the one that's most interesting in this process. And again, for most founders, we're not building rockets. We're building a software product or a service, et cetera. But step 3 is simplify or optimize. And in the notes, it says this is step 3, not step 1. And the order matters most. And what he says is Musk says that most common error in engineering is optimizing something that shouldn't exist. How often have you spent a quarter perfecting a workflow that should have been deleted in a week or two? This is classically a startup problem. We spend a ton of time working on a feature or a product or something that doesn't need to actually serve our customers. So Anthony, take this step for us. And how do we think about this step as a founder?
So I'm going to apply the Musk algorithm to the Musk algorithm and say step 3 and 2 should be combined into one step. I would delete step 3 and just say it's the same as step 2, maybe add a couple words to step 2 and you're done. I don't see a big distinction between delete the part of process and simplify. Those are the same thing to me.
Okay, so I'll let you call Elon. Stephanie, what do you think as far as, I think it's actually different and more important. But Stephanie, what do you think?
I mean, what I take out of this step is like, don't spend your time optimizing something you don't need. But I don't understand what the point, like, yeah, I don't quite understand what the difference is. So, yes, I agree with that. Don't spend time simplifying or optimizing something you don't need, clearly. But and hopefully you've gotten to the place where you have very clearly determined that you don't need something, right?
I would flip this a little bit around because you're right, Stephanie. These all of these are can be thought of as very simple, like steps. But what I don't think we do is take the time to consciously think through them. Like, the thing that I'm working on right now, should I be? This is more of a cognitive, like, walk through these 5 things before you take you do your next task. It's like a checklist for you. Am I doing this? Am I doing this? Am I doing this? Am I adding or adding requirements or making requirements less dumb? Am I right now simplifying it or am I optimizing it? Am I accelerating cycle time or am I adding to it? And am I trying to automate something before it's time? Like, those are the good things to ask yourself before you take on the next project, the next week, the next day, the next task.
This is where I disagree with both of you, because I think step 3 is actually the most important. And I think it's because there is insane amounts of you should as a founder. You should be at every single meetup. You should be out there talking to every single person. You should be networking. You should be on the phone selling. You should be building a better product. You should be spending time with your customers. You should be spending time with investors. There's all these we shoulds out there. Now, I think in delete parts of the process, it's like, hey, I get to narrow down those shoulds, right? I only have a certain amount of time. This is the planning fallacy thing. But then in step 3, it is about leveraging your time for the highest, most valuable task. And I think that's a very, very important principle for a founder, which is, we have this thing called the planning fallacy. We believe we have 80 hours in every single day. And so we overplan to do that. We don't. It's about, what can you do today? It may be go talk to an investor. It may be go talk to a customer, or it may be sit down and do your taxes. What can you do today to simplify all of those we shoulds and create the highest leverage task? And in this case, leverage, not debt, but lever and fulcrum. How can you move the biggest rock with the time and effort that you have available today? And this is where we spin our tires as founders. We just constantly do work to do work without really choosing how we optimize our time to get the most shit done. True, not true? Am I on base, off base?
I have a sort of a perspective on this that, I'm 50. I've been through however many startups and however many projects. And at this point in time, I know there's a phase where we have to be not optimized and do things a little bit more in a little bit more difficult way, so that we're not investing a whole bunch of time and effort and work into something before we've tested whether it's valuable. So for example, I'm building a piece of software right now, and the most elegant way for me to build this piece of software would be to, have an API that pulls data from another system. I don't know what I want yet. And to get the API, I have to apply to be on the developer program for this company. And there's a lot of investment in doing that. So until I am ready to do that, I'm doing things in a bumpy way. I am downloading CSV files and I'm building a piece of the software to upload those CSV files until I am certain what I need and how I need it. And I tested it, and I want to make sure that my system's going to do what I need it to do before I go through this lengthy process of applying for this partnership program. So there's a piece of messiness that actually gets us the right information before we invest in doing a much bigger thing. So that may not show up on this radar as simplified or optimized, but it's incredibly important.
It's a great point because there is a creative process. I feel like that this whole algorithmic approach is about optimization of time and effort, but there is a creative process before this, right, Anthony? Like you do have to kind of be in the messy side for this for a while.
Yeah, I think it's, again, going back into it, it's very cyclical. It's creating chaos and then order from that chaos and doing it all over again.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, all these like frameworks are fine. They're fine, and you can take some thinking out of them. But when it comes to what is real and what actually happens, I think sometimes they can almost be make you less agile, right? Because you try to follow them exactly. So I would take these as sort of advice and ways of thinking about your work and something to shoot towards. But the reality is that things are definitely a little more messy, and blindly applying all of this guidance is actually maybe going to trip you up.
I sort of blacked out for a few minutes because after you said I'm 50, I just started thinking about Molly Shannon's skit on Saturday Night Live. I'm 50. I can kick. I can stretch. If you haven't seen it, you need to go look at it right now. Anyway, all right. Step 4 and step 5, which is accelerate cycle time and automate. This is a really interesting time because all three of us are wildly deep in this idea of automation of tasks that we need to do within our companies and our startups. We're at a magical time where you can do a startup with way less people if you know how to automate things. Cycle times are reducing. Productivity is going up with AI. For the average founder, and we're talking about the work now. This is not the creative stuff. The actual work of, let's say you're a services company and doing the work around providing reports and communicating back to your clients. How do you think about this idea of reducing cycle time and reducing cycle time through automation or vice versa?
Which one of us are you asking?
I'll start with Anthony because, I mean, like, Anthony, this podcast we've done, you have about 90% of it automated. It probably takes you only 5 or 10 minutes to actually do the work around scheduling, terrible episodes.
Yeah, what do you do
I'm
for
just
the rest
kidding.
of the
I'm
day?
just kidding, Anthony. I'm just kidding.
What I do for the rest of the day. Yeah, what accelerate cycle time in this circumstance was, let's wrap this episode up more quickly. I think this is the most undervalued principle in the algorithm. Time is the only limited resource, only true limited resource there is, and every second counts. So as I'm building something, and I'm also building. I'm not only building software, I'm building the infrastructure, the harness that builds that software, and I am hyper focused on, one, improving the harness, and two, improving the speed at which it writes code. Because then I can write more code, and I can write better code. Not because speed writes better code, it's because I can catch bugs quicker. I can find things. I can do the wrong thing faster and then correct it. So I think cycle time, if you're in a factory, seconds count. Number of units per hour matters. If you're an accountant, a knowledge worker, a lawyer, all of the things that we do, being able to output more faster is core to offering more value to your customers.
Stephanie?
I disagree. I don't think we're in a frigging lean manufacturing. I mean, if you're in the manufacturing world, this is a different conversation. But knowledge workers is nothing. It's not about speed anymore.
It's totally about speed.
I come from
It's
the integration
totally about
world.
speed.
Hold on, let me finish. I come from the integration world. I know automation. Like, this has been my world for many years. This is no longer about, you do things faster. This is about shifting your focus to the more valuable work and being able to add something that no one else can add. So yeah, automate the shit out of the things that you know are draining your time, that are, not aligned, but you still have to think, right? You still have to be the innovator. You still have, and what automation is doing for us is freeing us up from doing a bunch of rote, meaningless work. And some of it isn't even rote and meaningless. It's like, actually, my tool is a better brain for sorting through a bunch of data than I am, right? It's looking for patterns. So I think this is less about like, do more faster. It's more about, spend that time that you've got on the things that are actually more meaningful.
Anthony, 10 seconds.
I'll give you an example. Logo creation. Are you going to get a better logo by generating 5 thoughtful logos or 500 fast logos?
In my experience, the first. There is no AI logo tool that gives anything worth shit.
But I would argue that generating 500 is being able to iterate 500 times is going to generate a better logo than creating creating 5 ones more slowly. You're going to get more ideas, more areas to eliminate. So the iteration, the speed of iteration matters deeply. Now, you're not going to get a great logo out of AI, but you're going to get what's not a good logo out of AI.
So this is the whole point, though. The 5 is better because they're usually done by a person. And
100%.
I'm going to get a much better. I have sat with these stupid logo tools over and wasted hours trying to get something that looks remotely what I'm asking for.
100% agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. But
this is the beautiful thing about where we are today, because what you guys are saying is you guys have 2 work styles, both of which you can speed up with AI. I go back to some fundamental principles, which is every single startup is about learning. It's about learning something important about your customers and about having a product that you're solving and learning about this problem. And no matter how you, Stephanie, and you, Anthony, choose to go about trying to learn that thing, and it might be about creating a whole bunch of stuff and then trying to narrow down, or it's about maybe going thoughtfully one at a time. There's no question that the technology today for founders can speed up cycle time if you know it and know how to use it. That being said, I think that the main point that I want to take away from these last 2 is the idea that it is also incredibly dangerous because you can do more faster and not get anywhere. If you don't have a systematic thought process about learning something important about a customer, about creating a hypothesis and saying, if I put this logo in front of this group of people, will they click on this ad or will they click on this website? That is an important way to learn something, as opposed to just sitting there being like, oh, I feel productive because I created 500 logos, of which I'm not actually going to go and create anything behind those logos. And so it is both the best time in the world to be a founder and it's the worst time in the world to be an ADHD founder, which is all of us anyway. And so
no, we have medication now. Okay, thanks, Dad.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so we want to get to the speed round, but I want to kind of give you guys an opportunity to say we've been around this, and I think that there's been some really cool stuff we've taken out of it. With the knowledge that this is not necessarily a startup algorithm, it's something about optimizing process for bigger companies. What are the most important takeaways that you've gotten to for founders from this thought process, this framework?
I'm not following the question.
So if you're saying that what are the most important lessons from the Musk algorithm that I, as a founder, should take away? It's not applicable to everything I do, but what are the things that I should take from this? The ideas that should be most important?
This simplifies down to walk the factory floor and figure out how things are being run. Like this, it just goes down to Stephanie's point. This is really simple. Go learn how your company is being run, know it intimately, and figure out where you can drive efficiency. The only way you can do that is talk to your customers, talk to your employees, walk the factory floor. That's it.
Stephanie, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that this is a particularly insightful framework that gave me much, but I think that, if I take anything out of it, it's the constantly questioning, do we need this, right? Like having some way of having a sanity check and keeping us focused on the value creation as opposed to, building something because I can, right? Or because it's cool, or somebody along the way said. So that, however you build that into your process is super important, right? To stay focused on the things that matter.
All right. I want to quote Billy Madison here and say, and nowhere during any of this rambling stuff did anything come to mind. I reward you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. Are you ready for the speed round? All right, I'm going to start with you, Anthony, and then go to Stephanie. You guys answer first thing pops in your head. Requirements with no real owner to them. Do you keep them or kill them?
You name an owner.
Stephanie.
Kill it.
Kill it. You delete a step. You delete a step and nothing broke for 3 months. Celebrate or worry, Anthony?
What a terrible what a terrible
These are your
question. I don't think about it. I just don't think about it after 3 months.
Stephanie.
It's good learning. I learned something. Great.
Optimize your sales process or delete the first half of the steps and then just try to go to close, Anthony.
Yeah, I just. Do you want to buy? Yes or no? You just need one phone call. You just need one phone call in sales process. Are you buying? Yes or no? I got more phone calls to make.
Feel like this is exactly what founders try to do, Stephanie.
It's like passing a note in class. Do you like me? Yes, no.
Exactly right.
No,
Anthony. Yeah, go ahead, Stephanie. Finish.
I was just going to say, like, your sales process is actually the thing you should spend the most time on, right? Like understanding it and being creative around it.
Name the last process you automated that you should have deleted instead, Anthony.
This podcast.
Touche, Stephanie.
I don't end up there a lot anymore, just from experience, but I did spend hours a couple of days ago down a rabbit hole of trying to make something automated just to prove that I could. Because I was like, I don't like not being able to solve a problem. I don't remember what it was, but at the end of it, I did solve it. And then I was like, and what am I going to use that for? Like, it is a temptation. For sure.
Deep Dive Resources, Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. Great book. And Subtract, The Untapped Science of Less by Letty Klotz. The science behind why humans default to adding, not removing. I have not read that one, but it looks pretty good. Hey, Anthony, Stephanie, this is our 200th episode. Congratulations. By far our worst. But I think our first couple were way worse than this, Anthony. I don't know. Maybe not.
I'd agree with you, but then we'd both be confused.
No, congratulations. It's 200 episodes. Way to go. I believe that we get absolutely nothing for 200 episodes. We get a round of applause from me.
Yeah, you think you would hope that we're getting better over time, but I'm not sure of that. So for everybody listening in, thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to visit us at howtofounder.com, where you can connect with us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify channels. Please smash that like button and subscribe button. Our audience are the pioneers of economic prosperity, and we're truly just grateful to be here along the way with you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Chris. Congrats, Steph. 200 episodes. Talk to you guys soon.
It's almost as if you have no business training at all.